Do you think social media and its effects are different for boys and girls and men and women? I think so, because you have different audiences, there's different content, and then you've got the whole battle of the sexes, for example, and then you can end up finding quite radical groups. Well, for example, with men, growing up, I've come across influencers who are spreading this sort of hyper-masculine, often misogynistic narrative, and it can wrap you up in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've...
And the social media platforms encourage that. Their algorithms are based to feed you what you watch. Yeah. So the more you watch them, the more into this rabbit hole that you end up being in.
And even if you hate it, you react to it. And so that the algorithm brings that back, or similar content. And then, it's just...
That's why it's really dangerous now. I think that's, as a society, I feel like we're becoming way more polarized on our views, because we're being shown the same content over and over and over again, and that becomes your belief. You don't see anything else. You don't see the balance to what you're seeing. Like the Overton window, I mean, that's applied to politics, but I think societally, that I feel like society now feel more able to say much more extreme things than, say, even 10 years ago about race, about, gender, about sexuality.
And it's all while hiding behind a screen, isn't it? So you could be arguing with someone and they're across the world, they're in America or somewhere. And there's no sort of personal discourse anymore. It's just arguing. You can go on any video, not made by an influencer, maybe a video on cats and dogs, and you go in the comments and there'll be people arguing. There's just this... I think...
Just to answer your first question, like statistically, women are more susceptible to like all these harmful effects of body image compared to men, apparently. But like to your point, like social media has really created that like very polarizing effect on everyone. But going back to body image, I think women are preyed upon by the beauty industry, wellness industry, fitness, you have it. I'm not saying men are completely like exempt from that, but there is just a lot more like huge, bigger impact on women. Would you say? What do you think?
I feel like, I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like men get it more. It's just not surfaced. Because think about like a gym, because my dad's an ex-bodybuilder, my mum's a bodybuilder and personal trainer, so I was raised in gyms and go to the gym and all these buff men, like, having to look a certain way to seem like a man, and it's like men's bodies are so different. Obviously, you go back to the DNA, genetics, how bodies form. Some develops quicker than others. Voices deepen quicker than others, later than others, and stuff. So I feel like, yes, women, we get judged from when we're like 12, on...
It's more acceptable to talk about women's bodies.
Yeah. Whereas with men, I feel like it's there, but it's just not spoken about enough. And that's why I think men struggle with mental health, because they then grow up and their body doesn't look a certain way. They might be slimmer or have more of a baby face or more... Being gentle, I think being a gentleman is absolutely beautiful, and that to me is a masculine man. But in the modern world, Andrew Tate's like, you have to be aggressive. So I feel like it's interesting to just see unfold, really, because I have a younger brother and he's taller than me, 6'4". He's very, very slim, but we're all very, very slim. Me at my age now, 41, that's when my body's become, if that makes any sense at all. But for him, growing up and seeing all these friends kind of bulk out and form shapes.
But young people would go to the gym way earlier. I didn't start going to the gym until I was in my early 20s. Yeah. And even then, that was like young. Yeah. People were like, well, why are you going to the gym? What's the point in that?
Doing press-ups at home.
Yeah, exactly. No one would even think twice about doing that. But now I go to the gym at the age of 36, and there's people in there that are younger than 16, lifting heavy weights, trying to build muscle when they're still growing themselves. And there's just so much information out there on social media which tells boys that they need to be muscular, you need to look like this, you need to eat hundreds and hundreds of grams of protein a day to look the way that you're supposed to look. And I think when we were talking about body shapes and genetics, like as an East Asian person, genetically, we are genetically slimmer as people. And then for us to be fed these images of like, you need to have all these massive muscles to be considered masculine, it's just really difficult to contend with, especially if you've not been furnished with the information to show that your body will not look like this. You need to find other ways to find happiness in the way that you look, and eating more balanced and being more conscious of your nutrition instead of hearing about all these fads of low carbs are bad, and doing cheat days, and it really villainizes food. I think as a nutrition coach, what I hear a lot, and I work with men usually, gay men, and they're wanting to get these lean bodies, but they don't usually understand that it's not about cutting out food, cutting out carbs. You shouldn't eat carbs, you shouldn't eat pizza. And it's funny to think that these messages have been passed down, and this is now what we're telling ourselves, and that you need to eat protein yogurt and protein ice cream and protein water, and like you don't need all of that protein. But over the years, social media and marketing in general is telling us these things, and it's really hard to decipher what the truth is because there's so much information out there that are getting into the heads. I think nowadays more for boys than girls. I think you're right, girls have always had this from as soon as they start growing up. They're like, you need to be thin, you need to be skinny. But for boys, it's all about you need to be muscular, you need to be big, you need to have a big back and big biceps. And it's a lot of miseducation about, even if you want to achieve those things, how to achieve those is really hard to navigate.
Well, I think women have always been at the forefront of scrutiny in terms of body image. There's an expectation of, or a sexualized view of women from male perspective of how they should look. And I think a lot of women try to fulfill that expectation. I mean, even many times if you look at adverts, women were used more or are used more in adverts in terms of looks and beauty and image, whereas I think men more focus on their physicality in terms of strength and muscle and wanting to look masculine, well groomed as well, but more from a masculine perspective rather than a beauty perspective, I would say.
I actually have a relative that got very sick from having too much protein. They had shadows in their kidneys. And the kidneys started failing. So it's quite dangerous.
There was a woman who in America, she just had a carnivore diet, and she developed kidney stones. There's a huge buildup of iron in her body, and she had to go to hospital. But then again, it's like, why did she feel like she needed to be on such a restrictive diet and having such laser focused approach on her nutrition? And unfortunately, the media at large and social media have a part to play.
But also us people, we kind of we're taken to radical ideas because we want to know that it will definitely work. We don't want to hear that, take care of your diet, but in moderation. Have more protein, but in moderation. We just want to hear a straight answer that this will work. And I think that goes back to the sort of Andrew Tate crowd, and they're taken to this idea, this radical idea, that something will work for them because they're lost. It's a sort of generation of lost boys, and I've somewhat experienced it with myself, but I've seen it in others and friends. Sort of gravitating towards this hyper-masculine content online, big bodies and muscular, big beards and all that. I used to use it's quite embarrassing, was a derma roller, I think it's called. I used to roll it on my cheeks because I really wanted a beard. I wanted to look like the manly men, and so I would do that every day, and instead I just got acne from it. But and that was all a desperate attempt to sort of look more masculine. I wanted to be bigger, and so I went to the gym for the first and last time in my life with a mate. I do everything at home now, but I went to a proper gym with my mate, and he's really big, and I thought I could get big like him. Completely different body types, and he gives me really heavy weights that he used to do, and I could manage them, but I pulled both tendons in my arms, so I was like C3PO for the next few weeks.
But then did that also affect the way that you felt, like not just physically but mentally? Like
I feel
like I wasn't. Why am I not strong enough?
I felt weak and sort of like a twig. And I'm quite tall and lanky, but it took me a while to sort of accept that that's just my body type.
The thing is, there's no one size fits all to any sort of approach. And actually, if you go to Asia, someone with like your body type, your attributes is actually heavily celebrated. Right? So like, it's just depends on like the
surroundings,
the standards, the culture. But I think that's why it's more important more and more these days that with social media, creators, brands actually take responsibility in promoting what is healthy, and I know there is shifting where it's becoming more inclusive to a certain extent, but I think we're still getting there, and there still needs to be more work done. But going back to like your friends who sort of subscribe to the whole Andrew Tate ideology, do you notice anything else different from like apart from like their physical attributes, the way they behave, like
the way they think is rather different. I mean, the way they talk about women, for example, it's like they're just objects to obtain. You can see that they were once lost and didn't know where to go. Maybe they weren't popular with girls at school, and so they looked for answers, and they found this radical answer. And that sort of it sounded like the truth. That no one else was talking about.
It was like an easier way to hang your hat on it, but like, this is the reason that I feel like a
blame
failure,
others, not
women
introspect.
X, Y, Z.
It's so dangerous though, isn't it? Because it can also make those young men have resentment towards women and anger. That can come out in various ways.
I'm not quite sure I would say it's fueling. I definitely think it's contributing. It does contribute to the way how men are looking at women, because they are objectifying women, and they are looking at women more and more as doing all of these things with their body and their image and their beauty to attract men. I think ultimately that's one of the things what men think, rightly or wrongly. And at the same time, women feel, why can't they and why shouldn't they be able to beautify themselves, attend to their image and the way how they look just for themselves, rather than having to be an intention to please men. I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword in the sense of women do want to look good for themselves, but at the same time, there is an attempt, I believe, to be pleasing to the eye externally for men and the world, because that's what gets you noticed and that's what's expected of you.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think obviously I still am like a slim person, but I'm more curvy now as I've grown up. But starting at 15, kind of being in the modelling industry and fashion, obviously my frame was the frame they wanted, but my complexion and my hair, that's where that body confidence side of things came in, because obviously
it just wasn't what they were looking for.
You know, so as part of you was accepted, but part wasn't. So that there's that kind of whole accepting of yourself again, where you're just kind of like, okay, so this part's okay, but that part isn't. Should I change that part? Should I change
Then you
this?
start to like dissect yourself into all these different parts.
Absolutely.
This is good, this isn't good.
Yeah, definitely. I remember when I was younger, I used to put long tights on my head to pretend I had long hair. And just be like, oh,
look at me, straight long
tights,
hair.
you know, just because I thought having long hair was beautiful. And that's why I deliberately now have short hair. My hair's staying short. But it's just really interesting seeing how it's evolving now. There's still a lot of issues there, I think, but I think that's why I'm so like adamant that what I put out online, because it's forever. Even if I delete the video, it's still there somewhere.
And someone has seen it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You never know what that impact could have been.
Exactly. And my younger daughter's friends, they all look at my content and stuff. So I'm always very mindful of what I'm saying, and just giving them a safe space as well. Sometimes they send me a little message, and just being careful of what I'm saying to them. Because they're like sponges, you know, and I think even more now they're searching so much
to find themselves.
And it's such a fast moving thing, you know. There's a lot of celebrity profiles that have drastically changed their looks now. They've gone from being really curvy to being really slim,
or
vice versa. And it's like, oh my god,
trends so much. It's less about what's healthy; it's more about what looks good for now.
Exactly.
So I remember back in the 90s, you know, they used to have like heroin chic, where you'd be stick thin and you'd look like you haven't eaten for days.
And literally straight.
And that was what people aspired to be. But now it's much more like Fitspo, people with, you know, booties and muscles and strength, and on the surface you're like, oh well, that seems healthier because they're going to the gym and they're exercising, but the psychology of it all is still the same. It's like I'm trying to achieve something that I am not naturally. I'm trying to attain this new trend, and that's what I think can be quite harmful, is that okay, I'll alter my body now to fit what is good for now. But then what if in 5-10 years time that changes, and then you then have to reverse what may not be reversible.
Yeah, when you're thinking about having children, your body changes with that, or age, hormones, like your body
using steroids, like men using steroids to grow their muscles now.
So it's so dangerous.
Well, within the fashion and style industry, I will say the perfect body, I think, has changed over time. So once upon a time, if you look back in the early years, there was this thing about the hourglass figure, Marilyn Monroe. That's the way how you should be looking, the kind of clinched-in waist, large, fuller breast, should I say, and full curvy body. You then have things like the models on the runway, where there's been trends to be very, very slim and straight, and you will have people more trying to look like a model. And then I guess now, more recently, I would say you've got a lot of reality TV figures like Kim Kardashian, for example, who people want that kind of full. It's viewed or seen as that being the kind of sexy, attractive figure. And so you have people going ahead to do all kinds of surgical procedures, if you want, to try and obtain that type of a figure, I would say.
You're a parent yourself, right?
Yeah.
So do you think like parents play a huge role in like how kids, you know, people, not kids, but like young people and even adults consume these content? Because you need like to have a strong support group. At least that is what I find very helpful for me. That's why I'm not as easily swayed by what I see on social media. But like, what's your personal experience with?
So me personally, with my daughters, so they are both on social media. So my big daughter, she's on there. She kind of just goes on there for wig influences and fashion. She loves. She's got my taste. She's a Libra, so she's very expensive. Whereas my younger daughter, she's a gamer, so she loves things like gaming, Discord and stuff. Which again, oh my god, that's a whole another rabbit hole.
Yes.
So I'm very aware of what they see. I'm constantly talking to them about social media and stuff. So when I get a brand collaboration, I sit and speak with them, and I just explain to them about like skincare and makeup and stuff. And the importance of, wear makeup if you want to, but don't feel you have to, enhance your beauty with natural ways, not with other ways and stuff like that. My big daughter wears a lot of wigs, but I make sure she understands how beautiful her natural hair is as well, because she's got afro hair. And I think with my younger daughter, it's a thing of accepting who she is and how she dresses. She loves tracksuits and baggy clothes. She doesn't want to wear crop tops and slinky dresses and stuff. She's very relaxed and likes big. So I think I can't fully control what they watch. They have their own devices, but it's just kind of being there for them when they come to you with something, because they tend to go, oh, Mum, I've seen this, and da-da-da-da-da. So it's just kind of explaining that to them and asking them how they feel about it and kind of letting them express how they feel about it too, and listening to them. I think that's really important. You can't disregard their emotions and feelings. It's kind of just being with them in the moment and kind of coming to a solution. I think that's the best. That's how I've kind of managed
I think
it.
that's probably the best way to go about it, to be open and to accept the nuances, because there's so many nuances. It's
so
not just one straight answer. No. But I think a lot of people want a straight answer, and so they don't want to deal with all the nuances. And so when you sort of break the traditional, the manly man, like Schwarzenegger type body, the Hollywood body's gone, and so you now have fat acceptance and people trying to accept that we're all different, which I think is, we all think that's a very good thing. But I suppose because that's breaking traditions, people feel that's perhaps politically correct, and then they react to that emotionally, and they feel like their culture is being, changed radically and quickly. And so, again, it goes back to the sort of radical side. People take to the opposite because they feel the world around them is now this politically correct.
And that's the way that they can take control back.
Doubling
down on their own views.
I guess we have to try and ourselves shift away from concepts and ideas that leave a conditioned perspective in people's minds. Well, I think we need to shift away from archaic ideas, I think, about what is beautiful and what sells, because particularly in advertising, there is a view of what sells, monetizing, should I say. Beautiful, slim, tall, certain type of facial features advertisers put out there because not because they think, but because it does monetize. More sales, more purchases, more return, repeats of interest, should I say. People are more interested when they've seen something that looks pleasing to the eye, if you want, or the definition of what's pleasing to the eye, it's going to sell more. And we live in unfortunately, I think we live in a society today where a lot of it is about making money. A lot of it is about making money and less interest in what is really being sold, if you want. And I mean sold from a materialistic perspective, I guess also from a psychological and an emotional perspective.
But everything's it just goes so extreme, doesn't it? It goes from one extreme to the next.
Other,
It's like, don't do that, everyone goes there. Don't do that, up to the next one.
I think it feels like people see it as a weakness. Like to be able to see both sides seems like, well, you obviously don't have any conviction in what you think. It feels weak to be like, well, maybe I can take your point on and think about that. It's not as favoured, which is...
And then because it's all online, you can just you say your idea and you can leave.
Exactly.
Back when it used to all be in person, you can't just start insulting the person
and then walk off.
And you'd actually talk about things. You'd have discourse, and you wouldn't just be arguing.
It creates the platform for that. When you're in person.
And the energy is also very different when you're in person, right, compared to online. So
Yeah, you have time to listen, rather than online. It's just, I'm going to say what I think and you're going to take it.
Yeah. And even if you're going to say something, I'm going to disregard it anyway. So it doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah. And even if it's a profile that has user 81529 and no profile photo, you still take it on board, because I get some wild comments sometimes. I'm like, wow, that hurt me. I'm like, who are you? Try to search them, you can't find them. But still, they've put that on your post. So now I just delete it. I used to leave them there and let people argue in the comments, because they do. They stick up for you. You have your people that, like you or whatever, your community. But yeah, I just delete it now, because I don't want to see that every time.
No, and there's no point engaging with it. I used to engage with it.
I used to.
Just get back to them. Like, who do you think you are saying all this to me?
Fully give them a
and I'm
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Why bother? You're pushing what
they're rage baiting. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then people go to their profile, they get the views, and people go on their other posts and comment. So it's understanding those cycles as well. But it is hurtful, and I think it's just again, it goes back to you, doesn't it? It goes back to sitting comfortable with yourself, and working on yourself and kind of knowing who you are, which it's very tough. But I think,
interestingly, it happens offline than it happens online. Of course, you get education and snippets of information about how it can be very helpful for you to look internally, but then majority of the practice really goes outside of technology, really. Yeah.
We are encouraged and led to believe that the way to be successful is to be beautiful, and whatever that means, whether that's a beautiful face or a beautiful body, because you get noticed more, and you're more accepted, should I say, in society for that. That's the early messages that we tend to be given and grow and internalize. And therefore, we all try to aspire to that. I mean, let's also think, a basic human need is acceptance and belonging. And if you want to feel as if you belong, you try to get into that club of being beautiful. Then I'm belonging and I'm accepted.
And I think it's important to understand that, kind of accepting yourself isn't an end goal. It's not I have now accepted myself, so nothing is ever going to affect me. I think, I've worked on myself a lot, and I've reached a point where I am happy with who I am, but there's definitely daily things that happen that I see, and I'm like, why don't I look like this person? I went to the gym 6 times this week, and I weigh everything I eat, and I still don't look like this person. Why?
Yeah.
And those moments will happen no matter where you are on that journey. And I guess a lot of that comes down to body dysmorphia, muscle dysmorphia, and just expecting to see something that isn't supposed to be for you or isn't real.
It goes back to just making sure that pretty much everyone understands that what we see online, most of it are edited, simulated, filtered, and all that. But I think social media is quite evolved these days. The audience kind of have a good sense of awareness, but it doesn't stop them from feeling...
It's instinctual.
Yeah.
I don't think these things should be as visible and available. They're too accessible, in fact. When it's so accessible, it's much more tempting, and it starts to create an unrealistic version of yourself that you come to believe is you and how you look. That can create all kinds of internal distortions and unrealistic self-beliefs in terms of how you think about yourself and how you actually view in yourself, which I think can just spiral more and more out of control, whether that triggers more aesthetic procedures to continually look better than you think you do, or to enhance yourself even more because you look great. Oh, this is great. I can do more to make myself look even greater.
I think, though, that I do think still there's a lot of work to do though. So, because what I find at the moment is, I guess it's just a constant roller coaster, isn't it? Because I find with my age, and because I don't look my age or look a certain way, there's judgment there too. There's always judgment, I think. Social media has its little pockets of toxicity, doesn't it? Like in various ways. So if you want to be in the 41 club, you have to look 41. Or if you want to be in this club, you have to look, and then it goes back to having to be happy and one with yourself, because even if you look well or look a certain way or whatever, there's always something that's constantly going to be like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You know, it's just always there, I feel.
Yeah, it's so self-critical.
It is. Yeah. It is, you know, because a lot of the time when I'm around people or whatever, because I talk to anybody, I feel like I want to give time to everyone, talk to everyone. And then they find out I'm a mum or I'm my age or this or that. It's, you feel the shift. Whoop. Like you feel it. It's instant. So I do feel like as much as there's like an acceptance in various areas, there's still those little bits of judgments that kind of surface or float around. I've lost my train of thought, but yeah.
But would you say like at this point, like you're not as affected already because you?
No, it doesn't bother me, honestly. I feel like I give everyone grace, and I don't know if this is, I don't think it's wrong of me, but I always feel like people are constantly going through things. So if someone is even mean to me, I'm just kind of like, that's fine. You know, you're probably going through something and, you know, I really hope you get through it okay. And I've had sometimes people start crying because I've said that to them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope I haven't offended you. And they're just like, and they apologise. I'm sorry I said that to you or whatever. Yeah, I just feel like there's just this, I don't know if it will ever stop. I feel like it will constantly be
human
there.
Nature, though, isn't it? This is the thing. It's like we are, as humans, we will pass judgment on other people.
Definitely.
But I think with social media, it's the intensity,
it
and you
amplifies
can't get away from it. Whereas, you know, when I was growing up, you leave school, you go back to your house, no one bothers you unless they try and get you on the landline, which they might not be able to anyway.
Whereas now they've got access to
so then
every day.
It's constant, and the scale in which people can see your humiliation. If you're cyberbullied and someone leaves a comment on your post, so many people now can see that, and then that brings along so much more shame and embarrassment that you would never have gotten if you just if you were bullied at school and it was the pocket of people that were there. And yes, that obviously is traumatizing in itself, but now it's so amplified, you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Social media is not a very transparent space for people of our age. There's a lot of editing, there's a lot of Photoshop. A lot of people tend to lose sight in themselves in social media. They forget who they are, what they actually look like.
I've been using social media since I was quite young, and it's given me quite a lot of dysmorphia in how I view myself. I feel like for a lot of young boys and girls, we can't tell the difference between editing. I think filters have become a very big problem. I think that the things we see online and on TV, we're not supposed to have an hourglass body at 14. It's okay that your body's changing and you're growing.
When she's on Instagram looking at all these models, it's gonna make her think like she's not wanted or like attracted to men. Same thing goes for some boys as well. Like if they see a guy and he has a perfect Instagram page, hitting gym, whatever, he looks wealthy, it's all a comparison game. Like comparison is a thief of joy to me. So that's why social media does have an effect on people's body image and their perception on life.
I think there has been a rise in comparison in social media, but on the plus side, there are also kind of body positivity movements happening, taking shape, which is always very positive, where it kind of just enables you to feel normal with the natural body, whether it be stretch marks, postpartum body.